Imagine a world on the brink of change. This is the world of the Late Bronze Age, a time of unprecedented prosperity and cultural exchange. Yet, within a few short decades, this world would be shattered, civilizations would crumble. From Egypt to Mesopotamia and Anatolia, what could have caused such a widespread collapse? Was it natural disasters, climate change, internal strife, or invaders? The collapse was a perfect storm of environmental, social, and political factors. The Late Bronze Age collapse marked the end of an era of interconnectedness and cultural exchange. Egypt, the land of the pharaohs, stood as a beacon of stability and power. The Egyptians were renowned for their monumental architecture and advancements in mathematics and astronomy. To the east lay Mesopotamia, the land between the rivers, pioneers in agriculture, writing, and law. Further north, nestled among the mountains of Anatolia, lay the Hittite Empire, known for their military prowess and use of iron weaponry. These civilizations were interconnected through trade and diplomacy. Understanding their world helps us understand their collapse. These great powers formed a complex web of interconnections. Trade routes carried goods, ideas, and people. Diplomatic marriages forged alliances, while scribes documented treaties. This interconnectedness created vulnerabilities. Changes in one part of the world could ripple outwards, impacting distant lands. A confluence of factors began to push these civilizations towards the brink. The Nile River was the lifeblood of ancient Egypt. Its annual floods provided fertile soil for agriculture. By the Late Bronze Age, Egypt had witnessed the rise and fall of numerous dynasties. The pharaohs held absolute power, overseeing vast irrigation projects and commanding mighty armies. Egyptian society was hierarchical, with officials, scribes, priests, and artisans supporting the pharaoh. Yet internal strife, economic troubles, and external pressures were weakening the empire. In Mesopotamia, the world witnessed the birth of agriculture, writing, and urban life. By the Late Bronze Age, Mesopotamia was dominated by the Assyrians in the north and the Kassites in the south. The Assyrians forged a powerful empire through conquest and expansion. The Kassites focused on trade and diplomacy, with Babylon as a center of commerce and learning. Mesopotamian society was deeply urbanized, with cities like Babylon and Ur. Their culture was rich in literature, mathematics, and astronomy, but internal rivalries, environmental pressures, and external threats cast shadows over this ancient land. In the rugged highlands of Anatolia, the Hittite Empire rose to prominence. They established a powerful kingdom centered on Hattusa and expanded their control. Known for their military prowess, the Hittites mastered the use of iron. The Hittite Empire reached its zenith under Suppiluliuma I. They developed a sophisticated legal system and engaged in complex diplomacy. Yet internal strife, economic troubles, and external pressures contributed to their collapse. The Late Bronze Age was a time of unprecedented interconnectedness. Trade routes linked the major centers of civilization. Diplomatic missions forged alliances and maintained a balance of power. Egyptian artifacts have been found in Hittite tombs and Mesopotamian cylinder seals in Mycenaean palaces. This interconnectedness created vulnerabilities. Disruptions in one part of the world could have ripple effects across the entire system. Climate change, environmental degradation, internal strife, and new peoples would all play a role in the dramatic events that were about to unfold. The Late Bronze Age remained deeply dependent on the whims of nature. Beginning around 1250 BC, severe droughts struck the ancient Near East. These droughts led to widespread crop failures, famine, and social unrest. The Nile River experienced a dramatic decrease in its annual floods. In Mesopotamia, the Tigris and Euphrates rivers dwindled to a trickle. The Hittite heartland in Anatolia also experienced prolonged periods of drought. The once fertile fields lay barren as the rains failed to arrive. The droughts were exacerbated by centuries of intensive agriculture and deforestation. In Mesopotamia, irrigation led to soil salinization. Deforestation and overgrazing reduced the land's productivity. The combination of drought and environmental degradation had a devastating impact. Food shortages led to malnutrition, disease, and social unrest. Competition for dwindling resources fueled conflicts between neighboring kingdoms. The Late Bronze Age was also a time of increased seismic and volcanic activity. Earthquakes toppled cities and destroyed infrastructure. The eruption of the Thera volcano caused widespread climate disruption. The volcanic ash and gases released into the atmosphere contributed to climate cooling and crop failures. These natural disasters further destabilized the region. The environmental factors that contributed to the Late Bronze Age collapse interacted in complex ways. Drought led to famine, which fueled social unrest and political instability. Environmental degradation made the land more susceptible to drought. Earthquakes and volcanic eruptions disrupted trade routes and sowed chaos. The interconnectedness of the Late Bronze Age world proved to be a liability in times of crisis. The environmental factors offer a sobering reminder of the fragility of human societies in the face of natural forces. The grandeur of the Late Bronze Age often overshadows a stark reality, deep-seated social inequalities that plagued these civilizations. Pharaohs and kings enjoyed luxury, while the majority toiled in fields, workshops, and mines. This divide planted seeds of discontent, weakening societies from within. In Egypt, the pharaoh, considered a living god, stood at the apex of a rigid social hierarchy. Below him were priests, nobles, and scribes who controlled knowledge and religious authority. Merchants and artisans formed a middle tier dependent on elite patronage. At the bottom were farmers, laborers, and slaves, the backbone of the economy. The Late Bronze Age, often romanticized as an era of stable empires, was marked by power struggles, internal conflicts, and rampant corruption. Ambitious rulers waged costly wars, draining treasuries and weakening kingdoms. Courtly intrigues and palace coups were commonplace. Internal instability eroded civilizations, leaving them vulnerable to external threats. The empires of the Late Bronze Age, built on conquest, expansion, and the extraction of resources, faced a constant challenge, maintaining their vast territories and funding their ambitious projects. The costs of maintaining large armies, constructing monumental buildings, and supporting a burgeoning bureaucracy placed a heavy strain on their economies. This economic overextension, coupled with the depletion of resources, environmental degradation, and disruptions to trade, created a vicious cycle of decline that would ultimately contribute to their downfall. The Egyptians, for all their wealth and splendor, faced mounting economic challenges in the Late Bronze Age. The costs of maintaining their vast empire, defending their borders against incursions, and constructing elaborate tombs and temples took a heavy toll on the royal treasury. The increasing power of the Amun priesthood, with its vast landholdings and tax exemptions, further strained the state's finances. In Mesopotamia, the Assyrians, known for their insatiable appetite for conquest, faced a similar dilemma. Their empire, stretching from the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean Sea, required a massive military force to maintain. Tribute extracted from conquered peoples, while substantial, was often insufficient to cover the costs of constant warfare and the upkeep of their sprawling empire. The Hittites, while not as expansionist as the Assyrians, also faced economic challenges. Their control over Anatolia, a land rich in resources but prone to drought and famine, was constantly challenged by rival kingdoms and rebellious vassals. The cost of maintaining their army, defending their borders, and supporting their complex administrative system strained their resources. Beneath the surface of these seemingly monolithic civilizations, cultural change and social upheaval were reshaping identities and challenging traditional values. The interconnectedness of the Late Bronze Age, while fostering cultural exchange and innovation, also brought with it new ideas, beliefs and practices that challenged existing social norms and religious doctrines. This cultural ferment, while often enriching, also contributed to a sense of unease and disorientation, further weakening the social fabric of these civilizations. In Egypt, the reign of Akhenaten witnessed a dramatic attempt at religious reform, with the pharaoh attempting to replace the traditional pantheon of gods with the worship of Aten, the sun disk. This radical departure from tradition, while short-lived, caused widespread disruption and alienated the powerful priesthood of Amun. The Amarna period, as it is known, saw a flourishing of art and literature, but also a period of social and religious upheaval. In Mesopotamia, the influx of foreign populations, brought in as laborers, soldiers, or merchants, introduced new cultural elements into the mix. These foreign influences, while often absorbed and adapted, also challenged traditional Mesopotamian values and beliefs. The worship of foreign deities, the adoption of new artistic styles, and the integration of foreign words into the Akkadian language all reflected this cultural dynamism. The Hittites, though fiercely proud of their own traditions, were also influenced by the cultures of their neighbors. Their religious beliefs, for instance, incorporated elements of both indigenous Anatolian traditions and Mesopotamian mythology. The Hittite legal code, while distinct, also showed the influence of Mesopotamian legal practices. This cultural blending, while enriching, also contributed to a sense of cultural change and adaptation. The Sea Peoples, a mysterious and formidable foe, delivered the knockout blow to the great civilizations of the Late Bronze Age. Emerging from the Mediterranean, they launched devastating raids that shattered the existing order. Their true identity remains debated, with theories ranging from Aegean islanders to Anatolian migrants. Egyptian texts describe them as fierce warriors with diverse cultures and motivations. Their raids targeted strategic coastal cities and vital trade routes, leaving a trail of destruction. The collapse of the Late Bronze Age world created opportunities for new powers to rise. New kingdoms emerged, reshaping the ancient Near East with innovation and cultural exchange. The Philistines, skilled warriors, challenged the nascent Israelite kingdom. The Arameans established kingdoms in Syria and Mesopotamia. Neo-Hittite states preserved Hittite culture in Anatolia. The Phrygians rose to prominence in Anatolia. The Assyrians re-emerged as a dominant power. The Babylonians, under Nebuchadnezzar, rebuilt Babylon into a legendary city. Amidst the chaos of the Late Bronze Age collapse, iron's adoption transformed the ancient world. Bronze relied on scarce resources while iron was abundant and accessible. This shift had profound implications for warfare, agriculture, and society. Iron democratized warfare and boosted agricultural productivity. The Hittites mastered ironworking, spreading knowledge after their empire's collapse. The Iron Age marked a significant turning point in human history. The collapse of the Late Bronze Age was not the result of a single catastrophic event, but rather the culmination of a complex interplay of external and internal factors. Like a perfect storm, these factors converged, overwhelming the resilience of these once mighty civilizations and plunging the ancient world into a period of darkness and transformation. The Sea People's raids, while undoubtedly a major factor, were themselves likely driven by a combination of environmental pressures such as climate change and famine, and internal conflicts in their homelands. The empires they targeted, already weakened by internal strife, economic troubles, and environmental degradation, were ill-equipped to withstand such a sustained assault. The interconnectedness of the late Bronze Age world, while beneficial in times of peace and prosperity, proved to be a double-edged sword. Just as trade routes facilitated the exchange of goods and ideas, they also provided avenues for the spread of disease, unrest, and collapse. The fall of one kingdom, like dominoes toppling, sent shockwaves through the entire system, destabilizing trade, disrupting alliances, and creating a cascade of unintended consequences. The Late Bronze Age collapse serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of even the most advanced civilizations. It highlights the importance of adaptability, resilience, and the need to address internal weaknesses before they are exploited by external forces. The lessons learned from this ancient collapse resonate even today, reminding us that no civilization, no matter how powerful or sophisticated, is immune to the forces of change. Unraveling the threads theories of collapse. The dramatic demise of the late Bronze Age civilizations has captivated scholars for centuries. Numerous theories have been proposed, each attempting to weave together the complex tapestry of contributing factors. Some scholars point to catastrophic environmental events such as earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and climate change. Others emphasize internal societal factors such as political instability, economic decline, and social unrest. Still others focus on external pressures such as the arrival of the enigmatic sea peoples and technological innovations like ironworking. One prominent theory, the system's collapse model, posits that the interconnectedness of these civilizations led to a domino effect. This model emphasizes the fragility of interconnectedness, arguing that it can exacerbate vulnerabilities during periods of crisis. Whispers from the past archaeological evidence. Archaeology provides invaluable insights into the late Bronze Age collapse. Like detectives, archaeologists unearth remnants of ancient cities, palaces, and tombs. The charred ruins of Ugarit and Hattusa bear witness to the destruction. Abandoned houses and fields hint at the sudden collapse. Excavations at Ugarit reveal utter devastation. City walls were breached, buildings reduced to rubble. Clay tablets inscribed with pleas for help were found. These tablets offer a glimpse into the chaos and despair. The collapse is evident in abandoned workshops and homes. The ruins of Hattusa paint a bleak picture. Palaces and temples lie in ruins, treasures looted. The city fell swiftly, inhabitants fleeing or perishing. Everyday objects remain as if frozen in time. In Egypt, tombs offer subtle clues. The opulence of tombs diminishes in later years. Inscriptions tell of internal strife and economic troubles. The Egyptian empire faced growing threats, providing a glimpse into the challenges of the era. Section 3. Written in stone and clay, deciphering the records. Late Bronze Age civilizations left behind a wealth of written records on clay tablets, papyrus scrolls, and tomb walls. These texts offer insights into the political, economic, and social dynamics of the time. Deciphering these scripts has allowed historians to reconstruct events despite gaps and ambiguities. Egyptian texts like the Great Harris Papyrus describe the Sea People's raids. These texts offer insights into the scale of the attacks and the challenges faced by the Egyptians. Section 4. A tapestry of causes synthesizing the evidence. The late Bronze Age collapse was a complex event driven by multiple factors. Environmental degradation, social unrest, and technological innovations all played a role. The collapse led to the rise of new powers and ideas shaping the ancient Near East. It serves as a reminder of the interconnectedness of societies and the need for adaptability. Section 1. A world-transformed legacy of the Late Bronze Age collapse. The Late Bronze Age collapse was a period of unprecedented upheaval, transforming the ancient world. Great empires like the Egyptians, Hittites, and Mycenaeans were reduced to shadows. Trade and diplomacy unraveled, leading to fragmentation and uncertainty. Yet, new societies and technologies emerged, shaping history for centuries. The collapse created opportunities for innovation and adaptation. The adoption of iron revolutionized warfare, agriculture, and society. New kingdoms like the Philistines, Arameans, and Neo-Hittites rose to prominence. These powers brought new ideas, beliefs, and practices. The collapse impacted writing and literacy. Writing became more accessible to society. New scripts like the Phoenician alphabet emerged. This democratization of literacy paved the way for new literature and philosophy. Religion shifted from state-sponsored cults to localized worship. Worship of ancestors, household deities, and nature spirits gained prominence. This shift contributed to a diverse and dynamic religious landscape. Section 2 echoes across millennia lessons for the modern world. The Late Bronze Age collapse holds valuable lessons for the modern world. It reminds us that even advanced civilizations can collapse quickly, and that interconnectedness can exacerbate vulnerabilities during crises. The collapse highlights the importance of environmental sustainability. These civilizations depended on the delicate balance of natural systems. Drought, famine, and environmental degradation played a significant role. We must prioritize sustainable practices and conserve natural resources. Mitigating climate change impacts is crucial to avoid a similar fate.